Let's move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets sent in to us from Antonio Diaz, who writes, "Hey, John and crew. Greetings from Sitges, Spain. My wife's been to Spain just 2 years ago. I sent her there for her birthday. She loved it. Now that Joker has come out, I was wondering if you could rank the comic book movies this year. I know we've had some winners like Endgame, Shazam, Joker, Spiderman, Glass, and some losers like The Kitchen, Dark-Pheonix, Hellboy. Would love to hear your thoughts." All right. Thanks a lot for that, Antonio. And yes, the last of the major comic book films has now come out. So I'm going to tell you how I rank the 2019 comic book movies. Now, let me preface this by saying this. By comic book movie, I'm going to only count the ones that are ongoing serials, like ongoing characters, not one-shot stories like, say, The Kitchen, right? I'm not going to include that. Whether I should or shouldn't include that is a topic for another time. I'm just letting you know, for the purposes of this list, I'm only including, what we would traditionally think of as comic book movies, okay? So, out of the 8 that we've got, how do I rank them? And by the way, before I bring up my rankings, let me just say I acknowledge that my list is going to look different than your list. Your view of this is going to be different than mine, and that's totally fine. It doesn't mean your list is wrong. It doesn't mean my list is wrong. This is just how I personally rank them, all right? All right, here we go. This is the definitive, official rankings from best to worst of the 2019 comic book film offerings. Here we go. This is it. I got Joker at number 1. I wasn't expecting it to be number 1, but after I saw it and sat and thought about it, it just became clear to me. I think this is the best made comic book movie this year. It is a comic book movie that transcends the comic book genre. It has got flat out the best performance of any of the comic book movies this year. It's riveting. It takes risks. I just think, a phenomenal motion picture. For me, Joker is the number 1 comic book movie of the year. Number 2, Avengers Endgame. It is not my favorite Avengers movie, but just the sheer geekgasm that this movie gives us is crazy. Now, look, there's a lot of dumb stuff in it, but all the dumb stuff in the movie is by design to give fans a big reaction. Having Captain America go, "Avengers, assemble!" That made no sense, but it's what we wanted to hear. And so they gave us that moment. That moment of Tony and Pepper back to back in their iron suits spinning around. Sir, didn't make no need for that, but it gave us a big thrill. Seeing, what do they call it, A-Force, when all the female characters rally to a point and charge in, it didn't need that, but it was awesome to see. There's just a lot of stuff in there that was just fan service. And fan service, some people think, is a bad word. It's not. It's like anything else. You can use it badly, you can use it well. And there's a lot of fan service in Endgame, but I think they used it well to get big pops from the audience, to give everybody a big, enthusiastic time. And Endgame is simply one of the most enjoyable experiences in the theater this year. For me, it's number 2. Number 3, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine, but I think people underestimate the brilliance of Shazam. I love this movie. Again, it's my second favorite DCEU film. Out of the Captain Marvel movies, because there were 2, because Shazam's name used to be Captain Marvel, I thought it was the better one. I thought that movie was great, terrific, heartfelt, charming, funny. I just love Shazam. It's my number 3. At number 4, I've got Captain Marvel. This movie exceeded my expectations. Now, granted, my expectations weren't super high. I was expecting good. It gave me better than good. I'm not going to say it gave me fantastic, but it gave me better than good. And I had a very good time with it. I think Ben Mendelsohn was a big part of that movie as well. His character was fantastic in it. I thought Brie Larson was great. I thought the mythology, the setup was wonderful. I dug it. Captain Marvel comes in my number 4 spot. Number 5, Spider-Man Far From Home. Very, very, very close to Captain Marvel for me. I'd say they're both very good. I preferred Homecoming over Far From Home. This one didn't have quite as much character, quite as much charm as the first one did, but it also had some other things that Homecoming didn't have, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching Spider-Man Far From Home. Probably easily the best post-credit scene ever in a Marvel MCU film. Absolutely fantastic. So Spider-Man Far From Home gets my number 5. Then we get into number 6. Now we're starting to get into the films that disappointed me. And there was Glass. Now, Glass, you may wonder, maybe I shouldn't have included that on my list because it's not a traditional, what we think of as a traditional comic book movie in many senses. I allowed it in on the list because it acts as if it's a traditional comic book movie. You know, it functions as if it presents itself like it's a traditional comic book movie. So I chose to include it on the list. And we can have a debate whether or not I should have included it on the list. That's fine. But for whatever reason, for my purposes, I included it on the list. Number 6. I did not dislike Glass, but I was not impressed with it either. I thought Split was a significantly better film. That said, James McAvoy's performance in this movie was even better than it was in Split, which carried the whole film. I really thought James McAvoy's performance in Glass carried the entire movie. Not a good film. I was disappointed with it, but not bad. Not bad either. Then we get into number 7, which I think is Dark-Pheonix. Now listen, I don't think Dark-Pheonix was the unmitigated train wreck that a lot of people make it out to be. Train, no pun intended, because I thought the third act was great. Not the third act, but that whole sequence that took up a big chunk of the third act, that train sequence, I'll put that in my top 10 action sequences in comic book movie history. I think that train sequence was fantastic. And that's a good 15-minute sequence. It's great. Unfortunately, the film also had a lot of shortcomings. It's not a good movie. It is a poor movie. I don't think it's a dumpster fire of a movie like some people make it out to be, but I thought it was a poor movie. And that was unfortunate, so Dark-Pheonix goes all the way down to number 7. And then a movie I had a lot of belief in. I had a lot of hope and a lot of belief in Hellboy, but it, without question, to me, is the worst comic book movie of the year. I thought this movie was going to be outstanding. I really did. I wanted it to be outstanding, but I really thought it would be. I thought David Harbour was a good choice, and he was. I thought the lower budget effects worked great. But, oh my God, what a terrible story. It got so bleeding ridiculous. I considered walking out, and I've walked out of less than 10 films in my entire life. I considered walking out of Hellboy, but I didn't. I hung in there till the end. So there you have it goes. That is my official 2019 rankings of the comic book movies. Number 1, Joker. Number 2, Endgame. Number 3, Shazam. Number 4, Captain Marvel. Number 5, Spider-Man Far From Home. Number 6, Glass. Number 7, Dark-Pheonix. And number 8, Hellboy. What do you guys think about my rankings? I'm sure none of you have the exact rankings that I do, but still, I'd be curious to know what your rankings are. List them all off for me. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right.